Start all over because I pushed the wrong button. I love when I do that. Yeah. Hey, Miss Hicks's class. I will not be holding meetings. I'm going to record all of these so that you can read them during the day when you have time so you don't feel pressured. Okay, Chapter 15, Dee Dee. This story contains a problem and a solution. Dee Dee was a mousy-looking girl. Unlike most children at Wayside School, she liked recess better than spelling. As soon as the recess bell rang, she would jump up from her seat and run out the door. There were big signs at Wayside School on every floor. No jumping down the stairs. Dee Dee never seemed to notice the signs. She jumped down the stairs. Some children took the stairs 2 at a time. Dee Dee took them 10 at a time. That was on the way down. It was funny. She never seemed to be in quite the same hurry on the way back up. There was another sign at Wayside School. No cutting across the grass. Dee Dee must not have ever seen that one either. She cut across the grass and ran up to Louis, the yard teacher. "I want a green ball," Dee Dee said. The green balls were the best. "I'm all out of green balls," said Louis. "Okay, then I want a red ball," said Dee Dee. The red balls were just about as good as the green balls. They didn't bounce as high, but actually, sometimes you don't want a ball to bounce too high. "I'm all out of red balls, too," said Louis. "Do you have anything left?" asked Dee Dee. Dee Dee meant anything besides the yellow ball. There was one yellow ball at Wayside School, and Louis was always trying to get rid of it. It didn't bounce, and it never went the way you kicked it. "Anything at all?" asked Dee Dee. "Today is your lucky day," said Louis. "I have one ball left just for you, the one and only yellow ball." "No, thanks," said Dee Dee. Come on, take it," said Louis. "Why don't you ever have any green or red balls?" asked Dee Dee. "I do, but the other children ask first. By the time you get out here, they're all gone." "But that's because I have to come all the way from the 30th story. How do you expect me to compete with kids from the 1st or 2nd floor?" "That's why I saved you the yellow ball," said Louis. "Everybody wanted it, but I saved it for you." "I bet," said Dee Dee. She took the yellow ball and bounced it on the ground. It stopped dead with a thud. She stepped back, ran up, and kicked it. It went backwards over her head. She didn't bother chasing it. Instead, she played hopscotch with Jeannie and Leslie. She thought it was disgusting. The next day, Dee Dee asked Miss Jules if she could go to recess early. "Why?" asked Miss Jules. "So I can get a green ball from Louis before he gives them all away." "I'm glad you have a good reason," said Miss Jules. "Yes, you may go, but first, spell Mississippi for me." Spelling was not Dee Dee's best subject. By the time she finally got it right, she was 5 minutes late for recess. She jumped down the stairs, cut across the grass, and ran up to Louis. There were no green balls left. There were no red balls left either. However, there was still the yellow ball. Dee Dee played jump rope with Joy and Marciana. It was no better than hopscotch. So Dee Dee's problem was to figure out a way to get a green ball, or at least a red ball. You already know that this story contains a solution. Dee Dee figured it out. See if you can too. Remember everything you know about Dee Dee, Wayside School, and Miss Jules. Hint: the next day, Dee Dee brought a cream cheese and jelly sandwich, some nuts, and shredded cheese in her lunchbox. Here's what happened. Just before recess, Dee Dee smeared the cream cheese and jelly all over her face. Then she stuffed her mouth with nuts and hung the shredded cheese from her nose. When she closed her eyes, she looked like a dead rat. Todd was in on the plan. "Miss Jules," he called, "there's a dead rat in the classroom." Miss Jules was very put out. "I want that dead rat outside immediately." When Miss Jules said immediately, she meant it. Dee Dee instantly found herself outside on the playground. "I want a green ball," she said. Louis pretended he hadn't heard her. "May I please have a green ball?" asked Dee Dee. Louis gave her a green ball. "I don't know how you did it, Dee Dee, but you're first today." When Mrs. Jules found out that Dee Dee and Todd had tricked her, she sent Todd home on the kindergarten bus. Dee Dee threw the ball on the ground. It bounced 50 feet straight up in the air, and then she caught it. "You don't like me, do you?" she said to Louis. "Sure I do," said Louis. "No, you don't." "Yes, I like you." "No, you don't." "Yes, I like you, I really do." "Are you sure?" "Yes," said Louis. "Don't you believe me?" "I guess so." "Do you like me?" "You bet," said Dee Dee. "You're my best friend." "Terrific," said Louis. "I always wanted to be best friends with a dead rat." Chapter 16. DJ. DJ skipped up the 30 flights of stairs to Miss Jules' room. He was grinning from ear to ear, from nose to chin, from here to there, and back again. "Hey, DJ," Todd shouted. "Glad to see you." Todd was a pushover for smiling faces. Miss Jules heard him. She began to write Todd's name on the board under discipline. But when she saw DJ smile, she put down the chalk. "Good morning, DJ. What are you so happy about?" DJ grinned and shrugged his shoulders. Miss Jules smiled. Damien looked at the smile on Miss Jules' face, then at Todd, and finally at DJ. Damien smiled. His smile was almost as big as DJ's. They were best friends. Once they saw the two of them smiling, the rest of the class couldn't help but smile. Rondi had a very cute one, due to her missing 2 front teeth. Nobody had an ugly smile. Jason came to school late. He was upset. But the first thing he saw was Damien's smile, and he felt a little better. Then he saw Rondi's toothless grin, and he began to smile a little himself. But when he saw the piano on DJ's face, he fell, laughing, onto the floor. Everybody started to laugh, even Kathy, and she hardly ever laughed except when somebody was hurt. The whole room seemed to be laughing, not just the people in it. The blackboard chuckled, the ceiling snickered, the desks were jumping up and down, and the chairs were slapping one another on the back. The floor was very ticklish. It smiled until the walls turned purple. The wastebasket started to sing, and all the pencils stood up and danced. Finally, things began to settle down. Miss Jewel wiped her eyes and said, "DJ, why don't you tell the class why you're so happy? At least let us know what we're laughing about." But DJ just kept smiling. "Ah, come on, DJ," said Dee Dee, "tell us." He didn't say a word. He couldn't. His mouth was stretched out of shape. "Let us guess," said Ron. "If we guess right, will you tell us?" DJ nodded his head. His smile began to hurt his ears. Everyone took one guess. "Have you been swimming?" "Is it your birthday?" "Are you in love?" "Did you get a green ball?" Nobody guessed right. At recess, DJ was still smiling. Louis, the art teacher, called, "Hey, DJ, come here." They walked to the far corner of the playground, where they were alone. "What's up, DJ?" Louis asked. DJ just smiled. "Come on, DJ, you can tell me. Why are you so happy?" DJ looked up at him. He said, "You need a reason to be sad. You don't need a reason to be happy." Chapter 17. John. John had light brown hair and a round head. He was Joe's best friend. John was one of the smartest boys in Miss Jewel's class, but he had one problem. He could only read words upside down. Nobody ever wrote anything upside down, but it was only a little problem. John was still in the high reading group. He just turned his book upside down. It was easier for John to turn his book upside down than to learn to read correctly. The easiest way isn't always the best way. Miss Jewell said, "John, you can't go on reading like this. You can't spend the rest of your life turning your books upside down." "Why not?" asked John. "Because I said so," said Miss Jules. "Besides, what happens when I write something on the blackboard? You can't turn the blackboard upside down." "No, I guess you're right." "I know I'm right," said Miss Jules. "You're going to have to learn to stand on your head." John couldn't stand on his head. He had given up trying. You would have too if you had fallen over so many times like he had. Joe and John were best friends. He could stand on John's head. Every time John fell over, Joe stood on his head. After all, what are best friends for? "My head is too round, Miss Jules. I can't stand on it." "Of course you can, John. If Joe can stand on your head, so can you." "It's easy, John," said Joe. "I can't," John repeated. "I always fall over." "Nonsense. All you have to do is find your center of balance. Now, up you go." John put his round head on the floor and swung his legs up. He fell right over. Then Joe stood on his head. "See, John, it's easy. Nothing to it." "We'll help you, John," said Miss Jules. "Joe, get off John's head and give me the pillow from under my desk. Nancy and Calvin, come here and give us a hand." Miss Jules took the pillow from Joe and set it on the floor. "It's all right, John. We'll surround you," she said. We won't let you fall." John put his head on the pillow and swung his legs up. He started to fall one way, but Nancy pushed him back. Then he started to fall the other way, but Calvin pushed him back. John kept falling a little bit this way and that way until at last he found his center of gravity. "Hey, look at me," said John. "I'm standing on my head. I found my center of balance. It's beautiful. I can read the blackboard. Hey, Calvin, bring me a book, and you don't have to turn it upside down." "Ha ha. Ah." Bam! While Calvin went to get the book, John fell flat on his face. "You better stay off my head, Joe," he warned. "Are you all right, John?" asked Miss Jules. "Yes, I think so. I feel a little funny. Hey, I can still read the blackboard, and I'm not upside down. I can read right side up now. When I fell, I must have flipped my brain or something." "That's wonderful, John," said Miss Jules. "Here, put the pillow back under my desk. As a reward, you may have a Tootsie Roll Pop. They're in the coffee can on top of my desk." John placed the pillow on top of her desk, then looked under her desk, but he couldn't find the Tootsie Roll Pops anywhere.